last time I talked to Gary, he didn't sound suicidal. He was talking about pushing on, that he had new evidence. There was different areas that he thought he was going to go with the story. He thought that he could go even further.
Gary Webb ended up supposedly committing suicide in 2004, right? 2004?
Yeah. Shot himself twice.
Yeah. So
in the head.
How do you do that? I mean, it can be. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible.
People ask me that all the time. And my answer is always the same.
So, do you think that the CIA is responsible for the crack? Everything that happened with crack cocaine?
Wow, good question.
Well, I mean, with the whole Iran-Contra thing, Barry Seal, all that stuff.
Yeah, still, I mean, I don't know. They say that they knew that their agents were selling drugs, but I mean, are they responsible? I'm not the guy to answer that question. I mean, I couldn't, I couldn't say. Gary Webb thought they were,
Well, Gary Webb ended up supposedly committing suicide in 2004, right? 2004?
Yeah. Shot himself twice.
Yeah. So
in the head.
How do you do that, right? I mean, it can be. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible.
People ask me that all the time, and my answer is always the same. I didn't see the autopsy. I don't have any evidence.
Yeah.
So when I don't have evidence, it's hard for me to speak on it.
Of course.
It would only be a theory. They had a coroner that said it was possible, for a guy to shoot himself in the head twice. But I guess the jury's gonna be out for that, on that issue. Gary's wife said she found suicide notes, where he thought about doing suicide. So I just don't know. I never thought, last time I talked to Gary, he didn't sound suicidal.
Yep.
He was talking about pushing on, that he had new evidence, and there was different areas that he thought he was going to go with the story. He thought that he could go even further. So it's a good question, man. I mean, the world's been wrestling with that since it happened.
Yeah.
What happened to Gary Webb?
Well, I mean, you come out with a big story that might compromise the CIA. It's pretty easy for them to just make somebody, disappear.
I don't know if I don't know if Americans have the backbone, to compromise the CIA or to compromise the government, to put the government in check, because sometimes it gets out of control, and you have to wind it back in, and I just don't know if we've gotten there. I mean, we come a long ways,
Yeah.
I remember the day I got off parole, my boy took me to a weed conference in San Bernardino, and I was like, what the fuck? They got, jars of weed sitting on the table, and the police was walking by, and I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
So I mean, we're getting more sensible, now drug dealers don't get life sentences for selling drugs, unless it's murder involved.
Right.
So I mean, we made some improvements, but I don't think that we have. We're nowhere near the point we need to be.